Hey everybody, welcome to Podcasts and Players, I think our 6th episode, and our guest today is a D&D nerd, artist, YouTuber, and maker of what I think to be pretty good music video animatics. Please welcome Eldritch Sugar!
Hey there, it's great to be here. Super excited to be on a podcast for the first time.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to have you. I've been meaning to invite you actually, and every time I had the chance, I kept forgetting.
I know how that is.
Yeah, I feel pretty embarrassed about it, but I'm glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Let's just jump right into it, as Phil DeFranco would say. So my first question for you is, what originally led you to posting D&D content on YouTube?
Well, it started last year when I started going to college and I made friends who got me into the game. And there were just so many interesting things that were happening. I wanted to document them somehow. I'd made some videos in the past, but I had never really pushed myself artistically. So this was a really good opportunity to try new things. And it got me way more attention than I thought it would.
Yeah, for sure. You have a lot of really popular videos on your channel.
Yeah, I do. I'm still blown away when I happen to check if there are new comments or new views. I think that the Mind Electric animatic is just under 500,000 views.
Hell yeah, that was the one that I discovered when I found you on YouTube, actually.
Yeah, that's my most popular video.
Yeah, and it also got me into Hawaii Party, which is a very good band. If anyone's listening, you should find their whole albums up on YouTube somewhere. It's very trippy, very cool music.
Yeah, the album is Hawaii Part 2, and the artist is Miracle Musical. The lead guy is
Rob.
someone who worked at Tally Hall.
Yeah, Tally Hall, and I believe Rob Cantor, who did the music video for Cannibal Shia LaBeouf. So if you have an idea about weirdness in music, that should clue you in. But yeah, that video was really good. I really liked Bathzar.
Bathzar, yeah.
The way that that was all depicted, you did really well on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I actually, on that topic a bit, I looked up your channel to kind of research you a little bit before we did this podcast, and I feel like you had more videos on your channel. Did you private a bunch, or?
Yeah, I did. That was more of my older work. Not even too old, just a couple years old, but it's really not good. like I said before, I didn't try to make good art. I tried to make funny art, and it's not at all related to D&D, and it seems like everyone is looking to me for D&D content, so I figured I'd just private the videos. It's about shows that I watched in the past. I don't know. No one really knows about them.
Okay, well that's fair. I guess on the same vein, your original name was Wow Wish I Could Draw. So what prompted the change from that to Eldritch Sugar?
Kind of the confidence boost, I guess. Wow I Wish I Could Draw was the username for Tumblr at the time. I don't have a Tumblr anymore. But a couple months ago, I figured well, one, this is way too hard to say, and no one knows what to call me. Did they call me Wow or something?
Yeah.
And Eldritch Sugar is it's a more memorable name, and it's not self-deprecating.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's also easy to just, I don't know anyone who's calling you Sugar.
Yeah.
That feels a bit demeaning, but Eldritch is really easy word to call somebody as a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was smart. Speaking of funny videos, it seems to me when you want to be funny, you're very funny. I find in when we actually played a game together. This was our mutual friend Weaving Chaos did a game with you, myself, and Captain Cheeky, and I was your meme game was on point. I was constantly blown away by all these memes you were quoting, and I was like, man, I forgot about that Vine or whatever. It was always just, and I noticed looking on your channel recently, you have sort of this dichotomy of funny videos and serious videos. I found that when it's a music video, it tends to be more serious, and when it's a backstory video or a speed paint, the meme game comes right back. The Calamite backstory one, for example, that one I was cracking up at because I realized that you had drawn Calamite and then that other Dragonborn and then his like barbarian buddy.
Yeah.
And it was that exact it was that exact meme of the dude who's like turning at the lady walking past.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was great.
yeah, I feel, I guess my question is like, do you have a preference for funny content or serious content, or do you try to like have a balance of both?
I guess maybe a balance. Like, I feel like if I made nothing but serious content and like didn't speak in my videos, then no one would really know my personality per se. They just kind of know me as like, oh, it's that person, and they make edgy content for D&D. Wow. But I guess having some funny videos is a bit of levity.
Okay. So I guess what's next for your channel? Any goals for this year?
Any goals? Well, I've had a lot of video ideas kind of rummaging around in my head. For the past couple months, I've been running a campaign with my roommates, and that's been going really, really well, I think at least. It's my first time running like an extended campaign that goes on for multiple months, and I've been wanting to make like story time videos where I kind of summarize the events and narrate over them. The problem is that with this whole, shelter in place, I can't really play with my friends, and we're still trying to figure out where we're going to play, if we're going to be on Discord, what supplementary apps we're going to use. So I'm kind of stuck in a nebulous area, like, do I start making the videos and then kind of go on hiatus while we catch up in real-time playing? I don't know. It's difficult to find the motivation when the campaign doesn't have bookends, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's very true. Especially because you're retelling a story. You don't really know the ending yet.
Exactly, and I wouldn't know, like, what important characters or details to emphasize.
Especially if you're not the DM, too. Like,
Oh, I am the DM.
is the one... Oh, wait a minute. So okay.
But the campaign could go in, like, so many different directions. That's kind of the point. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
my players into a plot.
Yeah, I guess, like, in my experience, I didn't start making, like, recaps of anything until it was basically all wrapped up. So I suppose it might be that thing where you just have to wait for it.
Yeah, but who knows how long that's going to be.
Well, what about, I know you have like a cosplay video. Do you do cosplays or do you have plans to do more cosplays?
Well, I don't really cosplay anything D&D related. I made that Basthar cosplay because there was a really small convention in my area, and I thought, hey, I have the means to do this, so why not? I do occasionally cosplay as a hobby, but it's not at all D&D related, so I generally like kind of keep that off my channel, which seems to be pretty much exclusively D&D content, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And that's pretty much it for, I mean, we kind of blew past those. So let's talk about D&D a little bit here.
Yeah.
You said that you're in a campaign, but it was one of the first ones that you've been in that's like months long. Are you more used to doing like one-shot adventures?
It's the first campaign I've specifically run or DM'd that's a few months long. The campaign
I see.
I'm currently in have been going on for well over a year.
Okay. Do you have a preference for like one-shots or campaigns as like both player and DM? Like what challenges are you finding as a DM for a larger campaign?
Definitely. It's not, well, the challenge is figuring out the tiny little details that hold the story together, or not even story, just like the world, like figuring out prices or how people travel or how long it takes to get from one place to another, or making lists of important NPCs because I definitely forget them all the time. Creating a larger story and interesting NPCs has its challenges, but when I'm stuck on that, I usually draw from books or shows or movies that I've kind of consumed along the way. But I always, always, always forget the little tiny details. That's just ADD.
I hear that. I suffer the same affliction, my friend. I guess I found it really hard to do campaigns, like long campaigns, for the reason that you specified, but also like if it's a one shot, I feel it's easier to kind of adapt. If people want to go like crazy and do something that I don't expect, well, it's a one shot. So usually I'm much more like lenient in just letting that sort of thing happen and rolling with the punches. Whereas in like when it's a big campaign, I get a bit lost in the details. Like I write a lot for it, and then when someone goes off the rails because it's D&D, I'm not as good at recovering from that. Like I don't know necessarily how to jump off. Like I mean, I know how, but in practice I'm very bad at it. What do you have any advice you'd give people like me who struggle with that kind of thing?
I don't know if it's necessarily good advice, but the kind of my thought process is to think about what my players or the player characters would do in a situation. If someone is like hot-headed and prone to violence, maybe take note of like situations where they might want to like brute force their way through. Maybe you have a puzzle door set up, but they want to punch through it. And maybe you haven't. Well, that definitely feels kind of bad when you make a puzzle door and they get through immediately.
Right. In fact, I think that kind of happened recently in a game we both played in.
Yeah. I don't know. My approach for kind of guiding my players in the direction I'd like them to go in is to like create a character that they empathize with and want to help. Because then if that character asks for help, then my players are gonna do whatever they say if they trust them, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, I find that that's one of my difficulties is making NPCs that the players care about. Because usually, I don't know, they either just don't care at all, they couldn't be bothered, or they're outright annoying and they're like, I'm going to steal from this guy, or I'm going to kill this guy. And I'm like, but he's like, father of four, he's like this gentle dude. Like, okay, all right, well, yeah, he's a commoner, you kill him. It's like, I don't know, I guess I struggle to write NPCs that are compelling in a way. I think I'm getting a bit better recently. That, or maybe the group I'm playing with has started to mature and graduate from the murder hobo phase.
Yeah, I think that might be more on the players. Because I think if you're creating like a friendly NPC who doesn't seem suspicious in the least, then I think it's the players who want to be murder hobo-y. And maybe, I don't know, it's helpful if you make your expectations clear at the front of the campaign, like, hey, this is going to be pretty story-driven, and I would appreciate it if you took some of the story hooks so that we can tell a story together. As opposed to like, yeah, we're here to have fun, you guys can be murder hobos or whatever if you like.
Yeah, that's true. Tone is a big deal, because like, I played a lot of one-shots recently, and they all seem to have like a slightly different tone. Some were definitely more like role-play heavy. I felt like your one-shot that we played was very role-play heavy, but I rather liked it. It felt different than a lot of like the dungeon crawl type ones that I'm more used to.
Well, the one that I ran, I really kind of struggled with that. I think that having 6 players was a bit ambitious.
Yeah, it was definitely, it seemed challenging for you, and also for us, because we were also trying to remember each other's names, and there was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I kind of want to talk more about that. So I guess right now I'll say that I'm not going to release this episode until Cheeky posts the audio for that.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody listening, we're about to get into spoilers for a one-shot that Eldritch Sugar ran for myself, Cheeky, Vitamin Dieter, Maddie Carl, Fel the Lab, who's a voice actor, and Weaving Chaos. And it was really fun. So if you want to not have any spoilers, I'll leave a link in the description for you to watch that long play. And I'll also put a little time code to get back into the podcast when we're done talking about it. Okay. All right. There's my warning. It's out of the way.
There we go.
I want to call this by... I really want to call your game by the pun that it's based off of.
Yeah. I want to do that too, because I haven't thought of a name that doesn't give away everything. Right.
So I feel like the group name might be the best way to like hide that.
Yeah.
Which is
the patronizers.
That was one of the funnest one-shots I've played in, just because of how well everybody sort of meshed together, and everyone felt unique. Like it didn't feel like anybody was stepping on anyone's toes in terms of like roles or anything. Everyone had things to do, which was really cool.
Yeah, I was really surprised. In a one shot where everyone's a warlock, everyone was unique.
I definitely think we made an effort too.
What kind of tropes did we have? We had the lady who wanted to be in charge, who was determined that she knew better.
Yes.
She did in the end. Who knew?
Yeah. I mean, well, she was also the one. I'm not sure if anyone else said this in their backstories or how detailed their backstories were. I feel like I did a lot of work on mine that I didn't necessarily need to do. But I wrote in my backstory that she doesn't like her patron. She wants to kill him one day. Like, even before she knew his nature, she's just like, oh, he like defeated me in a Phantom Ganon style battle. So my oath of conquest, like as a paladin, normally I like, all right, well, yeah, sure, I'll learn all that I can from him, and then like a Sith apprentice killing their master, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kill him one day. And little did I know that day was gonna happen during that session, or at least the motive would be out in the open. I thought I'd have to hide it,
Yeah.
but now it's like, well, don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I was definitely determined to have that just be a one and done, not even stretch it out to a two shot if at all possible. In hindsight, I wish that I had like cut encounter time down, or just found a way to make it run more smoothly so that we could have gotten to the juicy details, the important bits faster.
I mean, I don't think it didn't feel slow though. Like, I don't think it definitely, I understand like the want to kind of get through it all in one night, and it was unfortunate that a couple people were like in and out, like they couldn't quite stay the whole time. But it didn't feel like it was actually a long game, if that makes sense. It felt like it was appropriately timed. I think it was just sort of a scheduling thing.
Yeah, I still have to listen to the recording, because Cheeky gave it to me, and I'm probably gonna post it to my channel when I look through it all. But yeah, I'll have to kind of compare how long the combat took versus how long the roleplay took, the investigation.
Are you gonna edit it down, like cut out dead space and stuff, or?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, cool. That'll be really cool because it'll be a bit more streamlined. I do the same thing with this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I take a lot of my uhs and ums out.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one. But yeah, that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I love the pun. Cracking open an old one with the boys. That's how did that come to you, by the way? Like, what was the genesis of this?
I do not remember. I was hanging out with Cheeky. He was watching me make some fan art, and we were talking about it. I don't remember how we got to the cracking open an old one with the boys joke, but he knew the whole time what I was doing. We kind of hatched the scheme together.
Oh, that dirty bastard. That's why he did that to me. Oh, man.
He didn't know that you guys were going to face that, but he knew what I was building up to.
I see. He wanted an audience.
Mm-hmm. A captive audience.
That's fair. Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I really liked our designs. I felt like we were really creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then recently we played a game together, just yesterday.
We've been playing a lot of games together.
No, not just yesterday, 2 days ago. The days are not real. I feel like there is no night or day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe too.
But yeah, it was. This was Fell's game. I don't think anyone recorded it though.
No, I don't think they did.
No, but we had it in our Discord server, so we had a few people sitting in, which was kind of funny, and that one was really fun too. Did you talk to Vitamin beforehand when creating your character for that? Because you guys were brothers.
Yeah, I did. It was kind of like the hour before the game, when I was like, okay, time to make a character, and so I made a Tabaxi Rogue. And then Fell messaged me like, hey, Vitamin Ditter also made a Tabaxi Rogue. Yeah. And so then we talked it out, and we decided it'd be really funny if we were either brothers or rivals, but we decided to be both.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like that's also one of those situations where sometimes like overlap is a good thing because you can make it part of the story.
That's true.
I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like a lot of times when I have a group I'm in, and we're all like coming up with our character ideas, like for classes and stuff, sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, you don't want to like take someone's role in a way. But like even with races, someone's like, "Oh, I'll be a Dragonborn," another person's like, "Oh, then I'll be something different." It's like, well, no, you could also be a Dragonborn. Like it'd be interesting to have two Dragonborns in the same party. Like I know people who actually who do go through with that. What is your opinion on that? Do you think it should be like if someone's like, "Well, I want to be the only Dragonborn," like should they get their way, or should we always just try to play something different than everybody else?
Well, I haven't personally had any experiences where like a player has insisted I want to be the only Dragonborn. It's just kind of, I don't know, when everyone announces their character ideas, there have only been like a couple situations where, I don't know, I've thought I want to play this, but someone else is already playing this. I'll just play something else. I think that there's a group desire to have everyone be unique or distinct, rather. So I think it's just everyone wanting to be polite, not necessarily any greed.
Right, yeah. Not throwing shade at my friends and players I play with. Hey guys. That wasn't what that was, but I just I guess like there is definitely this like knee jerk like, oh, I have to play something different. I feel like for class that's more true cuz that's mechanics, right? So
Yeah.
I suppose like it would be kind of interesting like people talk all the time about having like an all goblin or all kobold party. I still have yet to partake in one of those types of games, but I feel like this was my first real step into that was this all warlock one shot we did.
Yeah. I feel like those kind of campaigns are kind of centered around the inherently funny idea of a bunch of goblins or kobolds running around a world. As opposed to like a serious one shot, because I built the warlock one shot around a pun.
Yeah.
It wasn't for a serious reason.
I suppose, yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of waxing philosophical on D&D right now. I'm just trying to like understand like what is the best approach, but I'm starting to come to the conclusion maybe there just isn't a best approach. You just have to take it case by case, group by group.
That's probably for the best then.
Yeah, wow. Getting deep on this podcast today.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Oh my god. Yeah, so like what I guess I'll keep it kind of general then. Like what is your favorite thing about role playing?
Well, it really depends on like the type of campaign or one shot.
Here we go. It depends.
Here we go. It depends. It depends. Everything.
Can never get a straight answer.
Never a straight answer. Illegal. You cannot get an answer out of me. Definitely for one shots, the whole vibe is a lot less serious. So you could definitely play like a funnier character because in my experience, most people want to play a funnier character. I was in this one shot, singular one shot, where I had a mouse folk paladin that one of my friends was playing. And funny story, almost everyone multi-classed into bard without planning it. So it was a bunch of bards supporting this one paladin who was a mouse. So we definitely like leaned into the wandering minstrel kind of energy.
Yeah.
That's for a one shot versus a long running campaign. And I'm in one of those, used to be in two of them. One of them finished, the Basthar one finished.
Yeah.
When you're telling a longer story, it's interesting to have characters change over time, and creating a character with flaws kind of necessitates you understanding those flaws through personal experience. Well, maybe not necessitates, but like, if there's a character you're playing who has inner turmoil, you usually draw from what you know, kind of.
Yeah.
And so you put more and more of yourself into that character. Good parts of you, bad parts of you, desires, fears. Not trying to get too serious, but that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think I've experienced that myself and secondhand through other players. Like, we do put a lot of ourselves in our characters, whether we wanted to or not. Like, a lot of times, I tried to make Giliara as far away from myself as I could, and I really enjoyed it because maybe secretly, deep down, I do want to be the boss of everybody. I don't know, but yeah, in a long campaign, like the longer you play as that character, the more invested you get, and so yeah, the more vulnerable, like you do just sort of kind of become that character while you're playing in a way, like it, and vice versa. That character becomes you.
Exactly. And again, it's not always intentional. Sometimes you can do it without meaning to at all. Or even if you try to make a character that's like, okay, I want to be the exact opposite of me, that still requires introspection because you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, what's the opposite of me?
Yeah. Speaking of this, this is interesting. I actually recently took a personality test, and was like looking at the results, and like the whole like pitch of it was just, people don't necessarily know themselves, but now you can look at your strengths and your weaknesses and actually have it quantified. And and it's weird that we're talking about it today. I was like, dang, this is
Yeah.
quite a coincidence. On the subject of like characters, I watched the speed paint you did with Bazthar, and that was that speed paint was a journey. Like talking about his like origins and then going like all the way to the point where he basically sacrificed himself for his friends. Like, damn.
Yeah, much.
If only I could be so lucky.
And it only really ended out that narratively cohesively. Those are words. Because I talked with the DM and she asked all of us, "Hey, what do you have in mind for like your character's ending?" And it didn't go 100% according to plan because I had like sadder ideas in plan, but it still worked out pretty well. The whole idea of Bazthar's friend, like essentially selling his soul to their patrons so the party could find Bazthar, I didn't plan that at all.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the way that worked out.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was like separate from his patron and like severed, and then he had to basically reconnect with the patron in order for that to work.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn. I don't know, like sometimes I marvel at endgame campaigns because like a lot of times with like the beginning of a campaign, it's mostly disconnected backstories and like whatever the DM has cooking up. But by the end, it's all sort of weaved together if it's done right. Like it's this one cohesive narrative at that point, and it's like there's all these moving parts, and everyone. I don't know. I marvel when a campaign completes like that. That's like super cool.
It's so wonderful and moving when like the DM and all the players have an intimate understanding of how all the characters work and their dynamics and like how they relate to each other. That's really interesting. And then that can be kind of played on, especially in the end.
Well, now I gotta ask, what was the sad envisioned ending that you had that didn't pan out?
Well, it wasn't that Bazthar died, because that's too easy. It was that he would, like, walk away from his friends and be alone forever. And I'm kind of glad that it didn't end that way, because that's just a bummer, man. Like, who wants to see like that?
Yeah. Dang. I mean, I had a similar sort of idea in mind for the game, the Curse of Straw game that I played that I'm making cartoons for. There's a moment where... and it didn't, like, that did not play out because we ended up... Well, actually, did it play out? I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. I might cut that, actually. I don't know if I can undo it, so I might have to cut that part.
Redacted.
Yeah. I don't want to reveal anything too spoilery, but anyway, like, there's definitely, I went through a crisis of character with Ophelia. It didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go either. So I think that's probably a good thing, though. Like, it's good that we're like, our inner sadness, I guess, is not, superseding like the natural storytelling of the group. Like sometimes like another character's will can completely change what you had planned and like for the better.
Yeah. And I think that's really excellent. Because, yeah, I'm glad that we don't have... I'm glad I didn't get that downer ending that I was essentially planning out in my mind. I'm glad that Bazthar has friends. Even if their souls are, like, bonded together in servitude, he has friends.
Yeah. If you've got a downer ending to a D&D character, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah. Let's all be sad together. You're not alone.
This is the sad episode. This is it. But yeah, like I don't know, man. What approach when you write a character, like when you create a character for a campaign, a long form game, like what is how do you generally start? Do you have like a method to your madness, or do you just sort of have like disparate ideas that you might have been sitting on for a while, and you're like, you know what, these could go well together. Like, how do you typically make a character for a long form campaign?
Well, I've only played in 2 campaigns that were long form. The characters were Bazthar and Calamite. I've said this before, but Bazthar, I made him as a joke, because I didn't expect the campaign to be, like, fully serious. It was also, like, kind of the first game that I ever played. And so I thought it'd be really funny to just have, like, a grumpy wizard who has fire powers and eats everything he finds. That's hilarious, right? I went for an aesthetic, basically, which was fire lizard who's angry.
I mean, yeah, that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah. And you know what? It grew into something. And that's really nice. As for Calamite, I don't remember where I got the idea from. I only remember where I got the name from. My DM suggested Calamite and then was like, haha, you did a Dark Souls reference. Ha 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 ha. Name kind of stuck. But I do not remember where I got the idea for him from. Most of his personality was shaped in, like, backstory creation. We rolled a backstory out of Xanathar's. There's like a backstory builder thing, I think.
Oh, he's like a randomized character.
Yeah, pretty much. In backstory, not necessarily race or class.
Okay. Have you ever randomized a character, race, and class?
I haven't, actually. All of my characters have been deliberate, but that might be fun.
It is actually very fun. Because sometimes, like, so I've done this for games, like usually one-shots or something, like if I don't know what to play. And sometimes it turns into a really good idea. Like, you might surprise yourself with, like, I never thought of this combination. Oh, wait a second, I'm already coming up with, like, new ideas for this. Like, generally, I'll take, like, a D12, because I think there's 12 classes, like, standard classes in the PHB, and I'll roll twice, and take, like, 2 classes and just kind of put those aside, and then I'll roll for however many races are available, and I'll roll twice, and then I'll take the 2 that I prefer of those 2 and put them together. That way, like, sometimes I don't know, sometimes it's like you get like drow something, and it's like, oh, in this campaign drow are kind of vilified or whatever. It's like, it doesn't really make sense, so like giving yourself a little wiggle room is nice. But then what I'll do for like the if I'm going to do that, I have to make sure that I also do it for the point buy, or not point buy, the ability scores. So like I'll roll everything and completely randomized it. I did this for a Star Wars 5e game that I played. It was like a 1 or a 2 shot.
Yeah.
And I ended up just by chance making the same race as Darth Maul with like the spiky head. So it was a Zabrak Mandalorian, like Boba Fett or whatever. So he had like, and we were high level for this one shot. So I had all the Mandalorian armor I needed, and I was a Mandalorian, and I was a Zabrak. So I looked like this complete badass. And I rolled really high on my stats too. So I was like, man, I'm really glad that this is like not a villain that we actually have to fight in game, because this is a bit OP. And it kind of worked out. That was pretty fun. I definitely recommend anybody out there who's ever been at a loss for what to play, try rolling randomly and just like, give yourself like 2 choices, pick one and stick with it. Like, you might surprise yourself.
Definitely, it's more fun to roll for stats, because I'm really not used to doing point buy. I've only ever done that for one-shot characters as per the DM's request. It was funny. I rolled random stats for both Bazthar and Calamite, and for Calamite, I got ridiculously good scores, and for Bazthar, I got hilariously bad scores. But then both of those played into the character. So that aspect of randomization can be really satisfying too.
Yeah, I think you also have to be willing to adjust your expectations for a character. Like, if it's like a one-shot, and you're starting at a high enough level that you can kind of guarantee your character's going to play the way that you envision, that's fine, because it's a one-shot anyway, or it's like a short shot or something, so it's not super important. But if it's a campaign, you have to be like more adaptable and willing to like allow your character to fail and to be humiliated maybe, and even like, have things not go their way, and then like role play that out, and like, how would your character react? What would they do? I think this kind of plays into us being our characters in a way.
Yeah, it's a way to practice emotions.
Yes, because I am a robot and I need the practice, for sure. You think I'm joking. Yeah, so I guess we're talking about story development in like D&D and more serious stuff versus the funny stuff. I guess I didn't know how many campaigns you played in, but you said you've played in 2. You're still in the one with Calamite right now? Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
So you haven't had any like campaigns that you've started that just fizzled out?
No, I haven't. I've been really lucky in that aspect. I think
Holy shit!
it's because I've been playing with my college's like tabletop RPG club and also my roommates and close personal friends instead of like people I've never met before or don't have any obligation to meet with again.
Like me. Yeah, no, for real. That's really lucky. I cannot tell you how many games I've started and never finished because schedules didn't work out, someone lost interest, or whatever, what have you. Not that core group changed too much, typically, but like, I don't know. It's like it's been a rarity for me to have a game that I can play in that lasts more than 6 months.
Well, I can imagine how disheartening that could be. Like if you're really excited for a character or a story arc in particular.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that's kind of why So here's a bit of a hot take, and you can tell me if this tea's a little too hot to be spilling. But I don't really like one shots that much. They're okay if you're if you have an idea for character, it's a joke character, or there's a concept for the one shot that you think sounds interesting, awesome. Like that's the perfect time to do it. But I've been, even on some one shots, I've had it where it like turned around on me and wasn't fun anymore. Like there was one where I made a joke character. I think I talked about this the other day with some people, but it was his name is Piffle Sunsparkle, and he was this gnome that flies around. He's a druid, and he summons fey creatures. And he was like a very fun joke character to play for a one-shot. But then the game ended up not being a one-shot. It ended up being several sessions long. In fact, we had to do the first session over again for whatever reason, because somebody like wasn't present for it and joined in later. So we just redid the first session, which was weird. It got frustrating because the joke character was supposed to be a joke, and I was like tired of role playing them, but then I kept feeling obligated to go back to finish this no longer one shot, and it like kind of spoiled the fun.
Well, you can't be blamed for that. You weren't the one who said, "Hey, let's continue this." From my understanding, you were kind of like dragged into it.
I mean, I volunteered, but I didn't. I thought it was going to be like a one shot, and then he goes, "Oh, it's probably a 3-shot," and then it like extended. Now I'm saying this too. I just finished DMing a one shot that I thought was going to be 2 sessions, maybe 3, and it ended up being like 6. So maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite in that regard, but I made sure to just finish it in a month. Like, I talked to my friends. I was like, hey, this is going on a little longer than I thought. The dungeon's bigger than I anticipated. So let's make this a month shot. And so what we did was we just agreed to put aside other plans for other like D&D stuff and just like hammer this out as quickly as possible. And we got it done within the span of a month. I think it was like 6 sessions. So we played like twice a week a couple times. And that ended up working out. And it was a really enjoyable experience. But yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes you kind of lose control of how long you think it's going to last.
Yeah, I think communication is the big thing here. Like when the players and the DM are honest with each other, like, hey, we should continue this. Hey, maybe let's leave it at one shot, I suppose.
Yeah. And I've been talking too much during this podcast, so I want to ask you a question. Basically, I want you to tell me a story about a very rewarding role-playing experience you had with one of your characters, or maybe like an interaction that you had with another player.
Oh gosh, I gotta jump back into the memory banks for that one.
You can take your time. I'll cut out the space between.
Yeah. a specific instance of rewarding roleplay. Huh.
And please don't say it depends.
I'm not gonna say it depends. I'm trying to think of like what specific instance. I have a lot of good stories.
Ooh. Well, just share some stories. That's fine. I wanna sit back and relax and listen to some fun stuff, because you have apparently a very consistent and good friend group to play with. So there's got to be some good shit that happened.
Well, one of my favorite memories from the campaign where I have Calamite was when we all went to a big city called Mikolash, where there was the Loon Festival, and the feature was a fighting tournament.
Ooh.
And in one session, we did so many things. We made a new friend at the fighting pits. His name was Osirios, and Calamite was the first person to beat him in like a wrestling match for years, and I got so much gold from it. We went to the library. We met the library keeper. His name was Not Important.
Wait, was that his real name? Was Not Important?
His real name is Not Important.
And you said this was serious.
This is a serious campaign where we deal with problems that are big. We got new equipment. We met really charismatic shopkeepers. We started the tournament. We met Calamite's son, whom he hasn't seen in like 50 years, along with his new friends. There was just like big emotional hit after big emotional hit, and there was so much like fun roleplay getting to like, I don't know, I love Calamite, and I can't really put into words why. Well, one of my favorite character archetypes is like big muscly man with a heart of gold who just wants to be around the people he cares about. So I think pairing that archetype with like a very sleepy man who doesn't want to like confront people unnecessarily leads to a fun combination, especially when he's like 8'3" in full plate mail. He just doesn't want to cause trouble. I think confronting his son Thune was really memorable because all of the player characters in the party were looking out from a balcony and seeing this group of people, and one of them was a dragonborn who was even taller than Calamite, and people were like, well, who's that? And the DM just looks at me, we make eye contact, we have this moment of understanding, and he's like, it's your son, Thune. And oh, that was just so great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because then Thune came over to like rag on his old man. Like, I thought you gave up the adventuring business. Well, I did. And these are my new friends. And it was really nice. The whole fight we had between our party and theirs was so tense. For posterity, Thune is a fighter, I think samurai subclass, and his two friends are a Tabaxi swashbuckler rogue and a tiefling ranger. I forget his subclass. But Calamite got knocked unconscious like 3 times in that fight, thanks to the Tabaxi rogue. But it was a constant like tug of war back and forth. That was probably one of the most difficult fights we had, and when we were at level 4.
That's awesome. I'm glad. I like when DMs remember stuff from backstories and work them in.
Oh, my DM, that is their favorite thing to do. That, they can remember, like, almost any detail from our backstories, and they integrate it into the plot constantly, and then...
Oh, that's so cool.
Backstories. Yeah, we have this one NPC, his name is Faram. He's, like, he's basically a demigod who's supposed to keep these primordials at bay, but he's kind of been a role in all of our backstories. Like, since he's thousands of years old, he remembers the war that took place between the countries of Savrun and Thalwynford. One of our characters is an Eladrin, who's also thousands of years old, so they were, like, childhood friends. He's, like, passed all of our characters by, and Embla, who's our shifter barbarian, is actually, like, his kind of surrogate daughter. And so she was naturally kind of pissed when he went away for undisclosed reasons, and that was the reason she kind of came to Savrun, and that's when all of our characters met. So he's been a really important figure, and when we finally met him, we chewed him the fuck out for creating these, like, psychologically damaging tests I think you remember the video I made of like the blue flame curse. That was one of his tests.
That's fucked up.
That was fucked up. So everyone was naturally very mad at this man, and he kind of like summoned us to the top of a mountain. We had to work through a temple of puzzles, and we came to this city floating in a cloud, and we were like, "Hey, From, what's going on, man? Why are you doing this?" The only person who was really happy to see him was our wizard Fab. They kind of like walked up and gave him a hug on the leg, and it was very adorable. But everyone was very mad. Uh,
That's awesome. That's like a really good way to like get a party invested.
yeah, we have this one villain who's an Eladrin named Mary, who just does all of these terrible, despicable things. And we met him after the tournament arc when he kidnaps Song, who's our Kenku, resident Kenku. They're no longer a bard when they used to be. And so that was a whole different arc of like tracking down the mysterious carriage and finding them and fighting to get them back. And we thought we killed Mary. That was the big like end of season 1 occurrence when we tracked him down to his like crime bunker in the capital city. And we fought him, very nearly died many times, but we killed him. And we got his sword, which is unbelievably cursed.
Oh yeah. To the victor go the spoils.
So far, none of us have used it, but also he's kind of back now. In a recent session, yeah, pretty recent, the sword got stolen and we had to take it back, and the sword took control of Song because they failed the very, very high wisdom saving throw. And the sword basically told them, hey, I need you to walk back there, don't act like anything's wrong, and just stab Fab. And that's what happened, because none of us caught on that there was something wrong with Song. And so they basically walked through the door, they stabbed Fab, and then the sword turned into Mary, and he bamfed away. So he's back now.
What a dick.
Yeah.
An unkillable dick.
Like, and what are we gonna do about that? But the big overarching story of that campaign is Calamit's brother being the Brigadier General of Savrun and wanting to be king. He wants to be king more than anything else. He has this elite guard who's trying to hunt us down because we know what he's doing. He's tampering with magic that he doesn't understand. And we're gonna go to the capital and we're gonna kick his ass. Hopefully, if we survive. He has an elite guard that he calls the dragons. There's like a black dragon, a white dragon, a red dragon, a green dragon, and so on. We've encountered 2 of them, one of which was a necromancer named Vele. She brought back Calamit's friend from the dead, that half-orc named Grumash. Calamite,
oh my god.
Who tried to kill him. She brought him back. She contacted Calamite through the sending spell and was like, hey, why don't you come to this town, this village of Paj, and fight me? Calamite said, no. She said, well, I've got your friend Grumash. He's alive. Don't you want to see him? Calamite said, no. Stop talking to me. And then she had to pull out the threats. If you don't come fight me, I'll burn Mikolash to the ground. And you know what? That was enough to, like, get Calamite.
The old traditional, do what I want or I'll hurt innocent people. Ah, yeah. Damn it, you got me.
Got me again. That old trick.
Oh, why didn't you just say so? Okay, sure.
And we went to go fight her, and that was another close one. The closest... Okay, I gotta go on a tangent for a bit. Currently, in our party build, I am the only person with healing spells. The only one. Sure, we have some potions, but I am the healer. So, like, whenever we have a boss fight, they usually have an insta-death ability. And I've been targeted with at least 3 of those. And I haven't died yet, because I've only just made the saving throw to not have Calamite turn into a pile of dust. And that happened during the fight. She pulled out disintegration.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was very close. I failed the dexterity saving throw, but our DM rolled, like, just low enough on the damage. It's like 50 fire damage plus 8d6. It's crazy. And if you drop below 0 HP, you're just dead. No death saving throws, you disintegrate. I made it by with 2 hit points.
Damn. I love that your DM is not pulling punches like, let's see if we can kill Calamite today.
They said, specifically, I had the sad music pulled up in case you died. I know they're serious.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I have failed to kill any of my players as a DM. I feel like I constantly underestimate them, which is my fault. I really need to just ramp up difficulty and just fucking kill somebody sometime.
I know that situation. I don't know how to make combat encounters, really. I've made a few in the campaign I run. One specifically was I made it too easy, slightly. But anyways, that's a different story.
Thank you for sharing the sort of cliff notes for Calamite
Yeah.
and his adventures. Like, that's really cool that like it kind of evolved in that way, and your DM is constantly like using your own past. It's almost like you're giving him fuel. Like,
Exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. That's like the best way to create NPCs that your players care about. You steal from their past and you haunt them with it.
Do my work for me, please.
I mean, exactly. In the campaign I run, I've been calling it Spooksville because I called it that as a joke and I cannot stop. I have this one of the player characters is a Furbolg on technicality only. His name is Mercury, and we all rolled random backstories for the characters, and the player rolled that Mercury was made in a laboratory and doesn't know who his creator is. So then I make his creator, and I love her. She is perfect. She is terrifying, and just the worst person. Really excited about her and her brother. They're like my favorite NPCs that I've made. But that's usually where I get ideas from if I need to make a plot element. Because then that's like, instantly your players know that's from my past. I gotta deal with that. That's like an instant story hook that you know is gonna get them interested.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes without saying you need players that will write a backstory.
That's true.
A lot of times I play with people who just want to pick up and play, and it's like, okay, like we can do it that way, but it's going to be less interesting for them because they're not connected to anything, you know? Like it's all style of play. I feel like your style is definitely story driven, about like, you know, narration and all that stuff, and I dig that. I haven't been in too many games that focused on that other than this one group I'm with that did the Curse of Strahd game, and we're now doing Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And like, because they're modules, there's a lot of like stuff happening in the background. So like our backstories don't have too much to do with things, but like it definitely feels like a living world, and it's more interesting to interact with the NPCs because there's a lot of them and they're like consistent. I've noticed when I play with like friends, like we tend to homebrew our own stuff, and a lot of times, like, NPCs will just be sort of blank slates that get you from point A to point B. And I don't know if it's right to, like, put forward the idea that people need to put more work in all their NPCs. Because there's just, like, let's say you're operating out of a city, do you put tons of detail on the alchemist who runs the alchemist shop? Like, is that important? You know, like, should that person have a backstory, or can that person just be a blank slate and save the DM some effort?
I think I'd have more to say on the subject if I haven't run a module before, so I wouldn't exactly know.
I'm more just like comparing them, because with the module, like, it's all written for you. You just have to kind of study. It's like homework. You know, you can look it up and, this person's motivations are X, Y, and Z. They know these things, so if they're asked, this is what they'll say, but this is their base attitude, blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously it's, you know, everybody who runs whatever can like change it up the way they want. Like even with our games, like they're not 100% by the book. Like our DM has his own creative liberties he puts on stuff. But when you're doing homebrew, it definitely feels like it's so much work to write and make it feel lived in and full. And I feel like you guys, and I don't know how your DM actually DMs, but I imagine that a lot of their workload is offset by the fact that you all cared enough about your backstories to write something like your origins and having other characters beside you. Basically, you didn't just make your character, you made your character and the characters that relate to that character in some way. And that gave your DM like a lot more to work with and makes the world feel more full, I bet.
Well, also here's another thing. All of our characters in that campaign their backstories are random. And our DM sat with us and helped us fill out life events. And they had their notebook out. Oh, you were in a war. Oh, you had a mentor, someone very important. They always had something in mind, like, oh, the mentor you looked up to is Alakash, who is a red dragonborn, who's an excellent swordsman. They just have that ready to go, and they're actively integrating you into their world as you're making characters, which is exceptional and wonderful, and my DM is so talented, and I love them.
That's awesome. I misunderstood. I thought, like, I didn't know it was like everybody was rolling random for backstories, and I didn't know that the DM was overseeing it.
Yeah, I didn't mention that. I forgot to mention that, but that's a really important aspect, which I really appreciate.
That is, yeah, that's very smart. That's a smart way to go about it. If anyone is thinking of DMing, and maybe you have players who are new or don't necessarily know how to write a backstory, maybe you take a page from this. I feel like this is a good way to go about it.
Yeah, because, like, even if you have a bunch of random life events, you can still tie them together pretty seamlessly. Because, like, you're given all the answers already. You got a study guide, pretty much.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't typically use, like, the tables in the book. Like, did you guys have your own special tables that you used?
I'm pretty sure it was something in the Xanathar book of, like, life events based on how old you are, like
right, that's right, Xanathar.
How many siblings do you have, that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, I haven't looked through that stuff. I was so preoccupied when I got the Xanathar's guide on just looking at spells and feats and subclasses that I haven't really poured through like the background stuff, but maybe I ought to. Like, this is You've talked so glowingly about this campaign. Now I feel like maybe this is a good way to go about it.
Oh, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
All right. I will definitely do that then. It looks like we're actually coming on to the end of the podcast here. Is there anything that you'd want to talk about before we kind of call it?
I don't know. I didn't necessarily have anything prepared. I mean, I think I've gushed enough about my campaign and how much I love D&D, and it's a very cool thing.
D&D is pretty cool. Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Don't really know what else to say. No
worries. In that case, then, it is reaching the end here. Thank you for joining us. I'm using the royal us, I guess, joining me today on Podcasts and Players. Everybody, check out Eldritch Sugar. She has a YouTube channel and Instagram. I got the links in the video, in the description. She makes amazing music video animatics, as well as speed paints and all sorts of stuff. And just a very all-around great person. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on. I think you've been a very wonderful host.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.